Peter, I guess you already spoke to the three greatest strengths. So, Mr. Gray, we'll start with you on this question. What three steps will you propose to promote or improve Peoria's financial health?
Well, we have to fix the pensions that are currently bedeviling us, and I think we all know that. We've heard about this problem for some time. And we can go into a long dissertation about when the problem began and so on and so forth. We have begun to make some remediation to the problem. I don't think we're there yet, Doctor. We do have the Tier 2 level, and we have begun the process of re-amortizing about 650 different pensions. But I think that's a huge issue for us financially. But more than that, my mantra won't be that we need to grow our population. We need to make our city great, and we must expand our economy, and that will in turn draw the people in. And Peoria has all the ingredients to be a super great city, and believe me, I've seen the people coming to Peoria loving it. We can be a Zoom city. James Kemper, who was running for the 2nd District Council position, has stressed the Zoom city aspect, and he is absolutely right.
Peter, what three steps do you propose to promote or improve Peoria's financial health?
This is a really important question, and Ms. Gray brought up the public safety pension crisis that is causing us to cut more and more every year. Well, the truth of the matter is that that didn't come out of thin air. It came out of elected officials kicking the can down the road for so long that at one point we finally couldn't kick it far enough, and we had to start raising fines and taxes. And this happened under the watch of elected officials who have been in office for decades. So why should we expect that they will be the ones who lead us out of this? But I'll list some specific ideas that I've been campaigning on. One is performance-based budgeting. This changes our budgeting process to make sure that we're funding things that work and not funding things that don't, based on data, not based on if a council person likes it or not. Another thing, a land bank. This would take the vacant properties that we currently own as a city and actually pay to maintain and transform them and put them back into productive use. And finally, I'm advocating that we spend the money in our TIFs. We have these funds at the city that have unspent money, and they can be used to develop our community, and if not, return that back to the taxing districts so that they can serve Peorians who desperately need that help.
Thanks, Peter. The next question. Peoria's issues with race and inequality are well documented. Why are you the best choice to work on those issues?
Yeah, and I mentioned this in my opening, but we have been rated as more segregated than we were 4 decades ago. We're rated as the most segregated metro area when it comes to our schools, and one of the most segregated when it comes to housing. Again, this is because of inaction in the past few decades, because we knew these problems existed. I have been loudly speaking up about the ways in which our city hall and institutions have caused these racial inequities, and therefore it's our responsibility to do something about it. We need to take proactive action. That's why I'm advocating for including racial equity in our strategic plan, that I'm advocating that we ensure that resources go to disinvested neighborhoods through ideas like my public safety opportunity zone. And the reason that I was the candidate in this district race that was endorsed by Peoria PAC, the first political action committee that's advocating for the interests of African Americans. And I've been endorsed by notable black elected leaders such as Rachel Parker, the Peoria County Clerk, and Jessica Thomas, the Peoria County Auditor.
Thanks. Chuck? Why are you the best choice to work on issues of race and inequality?
Well, the 2nd District is certainly a racially diverse and very heterogeneous district. And I believe the city of Peoria is doing everything it can to make its workforce reflect the demography of the city. It's difficult to keep African Americans, for example, when you are laying people off and when your core basic services are suffering. And so it seems like sometimes we take one step forward and we go one step backward. So we must continue to keep our attention on diversifying our workforce and making this type of police department, fire department, public works department, et cetera, that reflects the whole diversity of our city. And we can do that, and we are going to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Graham, if you're re-elected, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process for Peoria?
The way we always did it, as both an at-large and now wearing a district councilman hat, we use the vehicle of all of our communication vessels in the city of Peoria, and we have real live meetings with people. And it doesn't matter what part of the 2nd District you're in, whether you're at Moss Avenue or all the way out to North Florence, Bigelow, we would get together and we would discuss things and we would collaborate. And there's no district, and I'm not speaking down to any other district, but there's no district that takes that can say that it is ahead of District 2 in terms of the engagement of its citizenry, and my goal to involve our citizenry in discussions about whatever. And that includes road projects, for example, or whatever problem is coming before us, we involve them. We have a crime issue, we get the people together and we compare notes. And that's what I'm going to continue to do if reelected.
Thank you. Peter, how will you get citizens involved in decision-making for the city?
Before I worked in government, I worked as a community organizer. I would pound the pavement, I'd listen to people's concerns, I'd meet them in person, face to face, to hear what's going on. And that's how I've been running my campaign. I've knocked on hundreds of doors across the entire district. I've made hundreds of phone calls to my neighbors. I'm on social media. I even created a TikTok account, which I didn't even know how to use before the campaign, but I wanted to reach as many people as possible. I've gotten high schoolers, I've gotten Bradley students involved in my campaign, because I know we have some of the strongest neighborhood associations in the 2nd District, but if you take a look at any neighborhood association, they'll tell you they need young people getting involved. That's why I'm such an exciting candidate for a lot of people, because they see me as a fresh, young face with energy that's bringing new ideas to City Council. And you know, when we talk about constituent engagement, I think we've got to talk about what happened with the community garden on West Main Street. You know, for a candidate that claims to engage all stakeholders, there were so many people involved in that community garden that were not asked for their opinion before Mr. Graham led the effort in raising it to the ground last year.
Thanks, Peter. Please identify an issue that is more important for District 2 than other parts of the city and your position on that issue.
So I think, like I mentioned earlier, we are very representative of the city. When you look at race and income, our statistics match up pretty well with the city. But what's unique in the 2nd District is the main streets, whether it's Sheridan or West Main Street or University. It's more dense than other places. And I think what will really work in the 2nd District, and already has, is what's called incremental development. It means not going after those big box developers like Walmart or Target, but working with residents who live in their neighborhoods to make small improvements to their house or to that business on Main Street. And when I worked for the city of Peoria, I led workshops that trained individuals who didn't have a business background, but wanted to see their neighborhood thrive. They didn't want to make $1 million. They just wanted to see a difference in their lifetime. And a number of those individuals started businesses and redeveloped some of the buildings along the 2nd District. I think we're perfectly suited for that, not to go after those huge fish, but to take care of the vacant and dilapidated buildings in our neighborhood by engaging our neighbors.
Chuck, what do you think is an issue that's more important for District 2 than the rest of the city, and what's your position on that?
I think most of District 2 is in really good shape, but we have pockets of District 2 that need help. There's no question about it. I would like to see a return of urban renewal projects, urban renewal monies for cities like Peoria that will help the homeowner, property owner, fix up his property, especially in a neighborhood that is, well, in the case of the street where I live, some of the properties are over 100 years old. And so some of our citizens need some assistance doing that. And I think it's time to go after urban renewal monies, and that's why I continue to work closely with our Congress people for 2nd District, Sherry Bustos, to bring some urban renewal money into our city and to do what we can with the assets we have in Peoria to encourage homeowner investment. I think that's absolutely critical because the pockets that aren't thriving need to be revitalized. They need a shot of vitamin B12, and I think we can do that. I know we can do it, and I think our best days lie ahead.
Chuck, how would you promote police presence in our neighborhoods to ensure public safety?
You have to have more police. Period. At some point, staffing matters. In 2010, we had 250 sworn police officers. On a good day, we're lucky to have 200 officers out there. You say that doesn't produce an impact? Yes, it does. Same thing with teachers. You expect a teacher to produce the same result with 40 kids in the classroom versus 25. You'll never have the same result. You can't have a healthy city where you have a 6.5-minute response time to the West Bluff, to Bradley University, the high-rise dorms there, and to the entire West Bluff corridor because you don't have enough firehouses open. That is simply absurd. It's core basic services. My constituents expect that to be taken care of first and foremost. And you don't cut the number of snow routes down from 21 to 17 and not get into the neighborhoods, the side streets, until a couple, 3 days pass. That's unacceptable.
Peter, how would you promote police presence and safety in our neighborhoods?
This is a really important question, but I do want to touch on a term that Mr. Graham used just a few moments ago, and that's urban renewal. And urban renewal is the term that was used in the past to unfortunately bulldoze neighborhoods where predominantly African Americans live to make room for development. When our Civic Center was built, although I have enjoyed being at the Civic Center, it demolished the homes of our black Peorians to make room for it. So we need to be careful when we use the term urban renewal and what we mean there. Okay, when it comes to public safety, I've touched on this too, but I'm advocating to reimagine public safety so that our neighborhoods are more safe. The thing is, it doesn't have to be only police because there's a lot of instances in our community where we need support. You know, if there's someone who is experiencing homelessness and they're sleeping on a front porch of a business, we don't have to send a police officer. We don't have to, send someone with a weapon. We can send someone who can provide support to that individual and actually address the root cause of the issue that's happening instead of just locking someone up or driving them out of town so that we don't have to look at the issue anymore.
I think we've run out of time, or I say we've used our time in a very good manner. I'd like to thank both of our participants, Chuck Graham, Peter Koback, for their presence, the thought and commitment that they've put into this process, and wish you both well in the coming election. And I'd just like to say to all Peoria citizens, get out there and vote. Thank you.
Boom.